good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Lit in English. Today is episode, let me see, episode 5. Thank you for joining us on this amazing journey. And our goal is to spread this amazing knowledge to all around the world. And before we start, we are going to do a quick summary of what we did yesterday. But just give me a moment. Let me grab some paper because we're going to need it in just a little bit. All right, I am back. Okay, so yesterday we have learned about the third principle, activation of the human brain. This is one of my favorite principle because it break down the three brain that we tend to operate under, and through evolution, we are dominated by the reptilian brain, which is operating on fear, and that help us survive through millions and millions of years. And then we learn to love, and that's when the mammalian brain come in, and that often give us extraordinary power through emotion, to love, to the care for one another. And that is what literally help us human dominated the entire world itself. And then continuously we have a human brain, obviously, and the capability of the human brain is future sight or foresight, or simply put, it is just vision. Now, understanding the three brain is extremely critical because that is how we receive information when information come to us. And when I am talking about information, I'm talking about all 5 of our senses, like the way we can see, the way we can hear, the way we can feel touch, the way we can taste, and the way we can touch. Yeah, I mentioned that. But anyway, there are 5 senses that we can receive information from the outside world. Oh yeah, the way we can smell, that too. Now, understanding all of that, we receiving information, and the dominated brain out of the three, the reptilian brain operating on fear, will be the one that receive the information first. And the reason for that is because we have to make sure that we can survive before we can do anything else, because obviously if we couldn't survive, then everything else would be meaningless. But if we can be comfortable with survival, if we live in a place where we don't have to worrying about a tiger, for example, where we have enough food, we have enough water, then the brain evolve and the information passed on to the next state, which is the state of love. And that is where we have emotion. Sometimes people even call it the sixth sense, where we can feel our family and loved one. We can sense their emotion. And when the information reach the mammalian brain, which operating on love, if the information bring up negative emotion, then it will stop. it will kick back to the reptilian brain to see if those negative emotions should be operating on fear or not. Is it danger to our survival? But if it is not becoming danger to our survival, then the information will receive as love. The information will be received as positive. And when the information receives as positive, it will then move on to the next brain, figuratively, and that will be the human brain. And this is extremely, extremely important. So I'm going to repeat it again. When information comes to you through your sixth sense, the first brain is going through is the reptilian brain, because it's need to figure out if that information is dangerous to survival. Is there a lion around? Is there a bear around? Do we have enough food? Do we have enough water? If the information is good, then it's continue to move to the mammalian brain operating on love. And the mammalian brain will analyze to see if it is a positive emotion or is it a negative emotion. So if the information brings the positive emotion like love, joy, happiness, then the information will continue to move to the human brain. And this is the brain operated on vision. And having vision is something that is extremely, extremely powerful. That is what makes us human so unique compared to the rest of the animal kingdom, because we are able to foresee, we are able to plan. Like civilization, we are able to see the benefit of it. That's why we band together, and that's how we took over the entire world itself. This is how scientists can come up with idea. This is how some of us Vietnamese or Chinese, we can play chess without a chessboard, because we can do all of that in our head. And having vision and utilize vision is extremely, extremely, extremely powerful, because this is how people like Mike Tyson was able to become the best boxer of the world. This is how Mr. Roger Bannister was able to run 1 mile under 4 minutes. Having the right vision, Jeff Bezos was able to build Amazon to the company it is today. And having vision is how Elon Musk started his Tesla electric car, his SpaceX, space exploration, and many more. So the ability to activate the human brain is very, very, very powerful. It is beyond our imagination. And there's a quote that I like a lot, and I would like to share that with you. It's said that everything that ever existed, it existed twice. First in the brain, in the mind of somebody, and then they translate that to the real world. So what they are saying is that everything that we are seeing today was first thought up by someone, and then they materialize the idea in the real world. So first they had vision, and then they make that vision a reality. So that was the activation of the human brain that we went over yesterday. And because it is so important, and it is very much related to the next principle, which is the last principle that we are going to go over today, I do a longer summary. Okay, so thanks to our teacher, our coach and mentor, we learned the formula to activating the human brain, or in short, activating the brain. And it start with new lesson. And then we have applied that understanding of that new lesson and then we find an answer to our problem and we become enlightened, or we reach enlightenment. Another word for it is awakening. And this is exactly how the reptilian was able to evolve to the mammal and acquire that mammalian brain. Because let me tell you a secret that I learned from one of my friends. One of my friends said that the meaning of life is all about survival and replication. Because if we were to look back in history, everything is all about survival and then replication. You have to learn how to survive first, and then having children and raise children. So what do the reptilian learn? The reptilian operating on fear, and the lesson that they have learned is that they have to have fear in order to survive. They understand it, they apply it. That's why you see them running around all over the places. And that is their answer to survival. But once they secure that survival, they want to reach to another level, which is replication. Using a fish, for example, it's lay millions and millions of eggs, and it doesn't even care if some or all of the egg will hatch into baby fish. But that is not effective. They want to be able to replicate, and slowly we can see that they evolve into having a fewer, a smaller amount of baby, where they invested more time to love, to care for the children. And it showed the effectiveness of the replication process. So the reptilian brain learns something new, they apply that understanding, then they find the answer for it. And this is how we start seeing chicken and duck and many of the mammal. I know chicken is not a mammal, but you know what I mean. There's a process like of evolution, evolve from the reptilian to the mammalian, and we started to see the mammal and the more evolved reptilian starting to show love, affection to their children, and they spend longer time taking care of the children, raise them up, rather than just give birth and just left, right? So through love and care, the mammal continue to use the very same formula, is reach a new lesson and apply the understanding of planning. Because what I explained earlier about taking care of the children, had to, like a chicken have to take care of the egg, 21-day incubation periods, and then, you know, the little chicken running around following the hen or the mother chicken. So there's a vision, there's somewhat an idea of a vision, a lesson about vision and the overall effectiveness. Somehow there was an understanding, and there's an application for the replication process, and they found the answer. And what we are having today, when we look at human, the human had to care, the mother had to carry the baby for a period of about 9 months, and then continuously had to take care of that baby for another 18 years, right? And it's require vision, it's require love, and the same process continue. This is the key, this is the formula to success, this is the formula to activating our brain. That is, find new lesson, understand it, apply that understanding of that new lesson, and then we realize an answer. We become enlightened. We become awakening. And I would like to entertain you the idea of evolve into an even higher consciousness than just simply the human brain. And that is where the principle come in. Principle number 3, activation of the human brain. Because the reptilian brain was activated to the mammalian brain with love. The mammalian brain was activated to reach the human brain to acquire vision. And if we follow in the same formula of lesson, understand, enlightenment, if we practice in this area, then my guess is we will activate a whole new kind of consciousness. And that's take us to the principle number 4, which is the last principle that we will share. And just a quick reminder, we have 4 principles, 4 core principles, and 3 semantic reference system. All right. I would like you to get a pen, a piece of paper, and I would like to invite you to write number 4 on the bottom left. And let's call this last principle the transformation principle. And I know you know this is a principle, so I'm not going to write down the word principle. I like the sound of the transformation a little bit better. And I'm going to be very honest with you too. My goal for this journey is to reach this transformation, because I feel like there is something great out there. There is something very unique, very different. That successful people like Bill Gates, like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, like Mike Tyson, I feel like they have reached some sort of enlightenment. They have reached some sort of transformation. And this journey is a journey to help us reach the same transformation, if not better. So how can we reach that transformation? And lucky for us, and thanks to our teacher, coach, and mentor, similar to the activation of the brain principle, we do have a formula here that we can discuss further. All right. How can we reach transformation? Let's write the word transformation up top. Okay. So what do I mean when I said transformation? What does transformation mean to you? Why don't I just use the word change here? Because transformation is something greater, something even more powerful than simple change. Let me give you an example. In 2016, I had enough of being overweight, so I decided to apply for a gym. I even hired a professional trainer to help train me. It was pretty expensive, but I thought it was worth it. In the first 2 months, I did a really, really good job at it. I exercised every single day. I eat right, and I was getting into a very good shape. I had my positive changes. But going to month 3, I got busier with work. I have new relationship where I needed to invest more time in, and I fall back to who I was before. And that is not a transformation. On the other hand, back in 2001, my cousin, Tony, his name is Tony, he's living in Australia. He was very, very fat back then, over 200 pounds, easily over 250 pounds. He made the decision that he's got tired of being fat, because when he go to the airport, people couldn't recognize his photo because he was only 16 years old back then, I believe. Yes, because the photo in his passport was when he was way younger, I think maybe like 11, 12, and he was a skinny kid back then. But at 16, he weighed easily over 200 pounds, super, super obese. And he made the decision that he don't want to be fat anymore. He want to be fit. He want to be powerful. He want people to respect him. He went on a rigorous training and diet, and he became, like, I guess, as fit as the most fittest guy you can ever think of. 6-pack, that whole thing, that beach body, and it stay. And he could never go back to being fat. Now, that is transformation, which is a long-lasting change, or maybe a forever lasting change. He could not go back to his old self. That is transformation. What about successful people like Mike Tyson, like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, like Bill Gates? Did they go through the similar transformation? I would argue that they did, because they could not go back to who they were. And if you don't believe me, you can go to YouTube or Google, search for Elon Musk in, I guess, 2001 or 2003, when he first sold his PayPal company, right? Make like over $100 million, bought the most expensive, the fastest car back then. Then he's crashed it, and he was just he was great, but he was a more sillier person, less serious than who he is now. So we can see the difference. We can see the transformation. And the transformation that we are talking about is much greater than simply changing a few pounds or having a little bit more wisdom. Transformation that we are discussing here is the transformation through understanding and materializing the 7 holistic wealth, which is reaching that holistic life. So in order to reach transformation, we have to have the understanding of it. Understanding. And precisely this journey, the 21 day of Lit Up in English season 4, will provide all of us, including myself, that understanding. of the principle and the formula that we have to reach that transformation. And surprisingly, the understanding is also coming from enlightenment. Let me use a different color pen. In order to reach understanding, we had to be enlightened. And enlightenment. All right, so what is enlightenment? Why is it different from the previous principle when we say lesson, apply, understand, and to reach enlightenment? But why is it kind of reverse from the transformation? Why do we have to have that enlightenment to reach understanding? Isn't it kind of backward? And let me give you an answer to that. It is not, because enlightenment here is more like a verse, more like explain it an action of you becoming enlightened. For example, when Newton figured out a way to explain his gravitational theory, he has spent a very long time trying to explain his theory, but he couldn't know how to explain it. Couldn't know how to prove it. And then one day he was sitting under the tree, and then the apple fell and hit his head. And that is when he has his enlightenment moment. That was when he realized that, there is gravitation evolved in this equation. We are being influenced by gravitational pull from the earth. So at that moment, he had that enlightenment experience. Or let's say any other thing that you do in your life, all of a sudden you figure it out. It's like a light bulb just switch on in your head. You become enlightened. You have an understanding of how you should do it. And that is the beginning of the transformation. For Jeff Bezos, his enlightenment, or his great enlightenment, is the realization of how big the internet is going to be, how powerful the internet is going to be. And he wanted to be in control. He wanted to take over the distribution process. And that is how Amazon come to be. It was big enough, and he become enlightened for that specific idea. And he understand that he is going to do it. And through that enlightenment, through that understanding and the process of doing it, he make his own transformation from a simply successful stock broker. Jeff Bezos became the founder of Amazon, and he is now one of the richest people in the world. So that is the process. But then we ask ourselves this question: how can we reach enlightenment? What is the process? The process is contemplation. and contemplation through questioning, asking the right question. Okay. And this is the entire reason of why it is so important to ask question. Because when you ask in the right question, you will reach the right contemplation. And through the right contemplation, you will reach the right enlightenment, having the right understanding and reach the right transformation. And let's use the example of Jeff Bezos to have a better understanding of his transformation. And I'm sure some people might be very interested in being the next Jeff Bezos, maybe just being the next billionaire. It is possible, okay? Because we have already learned about the 6 barriers. We have to get through that barrier. Don't have limiting belief. If Jeff can do it, you can do it if you want to. So the process, let's just imagine the process of Jeff's transformation. I'm sure somewhere in 1995, when he see the growth of the internet, like many others, Jeff would ask questions. He will be questioning, why is there the growth of the internet? What can I do to be involved in that process? And he decided that online shopping is the way. Delivery, the small enough item is the way. And that is why Amazon started out by selling books, because it's easy to store. You don't have to worry about it's going bad. It's usually in the right package, easy to send out. So questioning is something very, very beautiful. And in order to remember what kind of question that we would like to ask, let me give you a tips here. This would be called the 5W and 1H, 5W, and then 1H. So for the English vocabulary, we have something like what, and then why, and then who, and when, where, and how. So in the case of Amazon, we would ask, what should we get into when we have this .com wave? Why we want to do it? Who should do it? When we should do it? Where we should do it? And how we should do it? And let me tell you, I'm very, very positive that Jeff Bezos would ask himself all of this. And I imagine his answer would be, you know what, I'm going to do Amazon. I'm going to sell book, because the reason why is because it's easy to store, it's easy to package, and it's easy to send out. So who should do it? Of course, I will do it. I'm going to ask people from my family to fund me. I'm going to ask my wife to support me. When should I do it? I should do it right now, because the .com was hot. in 1996. If I don't do it, other people might do it. Where do I do it? This is extremely, extremely awesome, because back then Jeff lived in, I think, Massachusetts, and then he moved to the Midwest somewhere. And then finally, when Amazon be starting to receive some success, Jeff Bezos was contemplating between Portland, Oregon, where I live, or going to Seattle in Washington. So he picked the location that he is going to Seattle, Washington. And how he's doing it, only him and his executive know. But the process is quite clear when we look at just this simple piece of paper. So the right questioning, in order to reach the transformation that you want to reach, you got to ask the right question, and you have to find your right answer. And in order to find an answer, the key to all of it is, I can tell you right now, is contemplation. Because everything that we have in life, we have it because of contemplation. This is the key, and I would like to invite you to highlight it if you are writing alongside here. And again, thanks to our teacher, our coach, our mentor, we get to learn a very, very important process here, a very key here that I want you to focusing on. And I want you to focus on the word contemplation. When we contemplate about life, about things, and if we were to simplify it, there would be two ways that we can contemplate. We can contemplate it positively, positive, or we can contemplate it in a negative. And this is extremely, extremely important point to understand. Remember what we have learned yesterday, and quickly summarize earlier today about the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, and the human brain. So if we were to contemplate negatively about our questioning, about our dream, what would happen? If you contemplate negatively, then the information will stop where the mammalian brain operates. Negative emotion will kick it back to the reptilian brain, and then the reptilian brain only do one thing, is only want to decide if that negative emotion is dangerous to its survival, or is it good for its survival. And if the contemplation was so negative that causes fear, then the information stops. The transformation will not happen, or using another word, the transformation will happen negatively. But if we can contemplate positively, like Jeff Bezos did, he will be able to not fearing that information. The information will move to the mammalian where love operates. Is that work make you feel happy? Does that work make you feel joy? And I believe that work, it was very joyful to Jeff Bezos. That's why he quit his 7-figure income job to do this, to go on this venture. And he was doing it because he had vision. He operating on a different level now. He's have vision, positive vision of the success of Amazon. And he invested 20 years from 1996 to 2016. That is when Amazon really really take over the distribution chain of the entire world itself. And that is the power of transformation. Unfortunately, most of us, we couldn't tell the difference between negative contemplation or positive contemplation. And this is where we dive a little bit deeper, because what we desire is very different compared to what we do. Because somewhere, somehow, we are still being very influenced by the way our brain work. Using my own example, back in 2016, for example, I knew that I was overweight. I knew that I had to work out and eat less. And that's what I did, because I was operated on the human brain. I had the vision of a healthier, a better looking version of myself. But at the same time, that reptilian brain kicked in, and it was so powerful, right? It's got me to just, you know what, just rest and just make sure I eat the food that I like. And that's what I did as well. And it was so powerful. I couldn't resist it. And that's why I fell off my exercising routine and my diet. Because somehow, you know, for millions and millions of years, it is important to survival for us to make sure that we have enough nutrition. Because having enough nutrition and having enough rest, let's say that a bear show up or a tiger show up, then we would have the strength and the energy to either fight off that danger or run away from it. But if we exercise so much that we couldn't move a muscle, then when danger present itself, we just couldn't do it. So innerly, there is a battle between the ancient brain of the reptilian, of the mammalian, to kind of like stopping us from evolve even further, stopping us from materialize our vision. And this is a very unique difference between negative contemplation and positive contemplation. And I can give you many examples, but I want to take it to the core here. I want to take it to the very root of the way we behave, the way we operate. So negative contemplation in and of itself is not bad. It is actually very good for survival. But let me remind you, we no longer live in the jungle. We no longer have to worry about the predator. We live in human society, and it is important for us to break through that fear, to break through that negative emotion, to nurture our vision so that we can have the transformation that many successful people have had, like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk. We need to learn how to contemplate positively, to activate that human brain or even higher thinking, to understand the circle of knowledge, to make the unconsciousness conscious. You apply the principle of light so that we can be proactive rather than reactive. So that we can work on our inner self, our health, our relationship, our finance. And from that, we will be able to materialize the 7 holistic wealth. And this will help us reach a holistic life, because money is not everything. If you are following our channel, because successful billionaire like Donald Trump, for example, he might have a lot of money, but he might not have good relationship, and that's why people still talk bad about him. He might not feel good enough about his inner self, where he feel the need to prove himself, and he might not even have good health. So the 7 holistic wealth is a holistic life where we have a very wholesome life. You know, happiness as a whole being happy, being wholesome. And this is the journey that we desire, and this is the transformation that we desire. And if we were to discuss this transformation principle here, it could take days, months, and it's often lean toward the negative, but I don't want to do that today. I just want you to remind you to lean toward positive contemplation, because through positivity, we will definitely be able to activate that human brain to reach that vision, because we operating on love rather than fear. We operate on positive emotion rather than negative emotion. And when we can continuously have in that positive contemplation, we will be able to reach our transformation. And in my case, back in 2016, if I knew this, I will stick with my workout routine. I will stick to my diet, and I would have had that transformation of beach body, you know, 6-pack, being healthy, being pretty, and being successful in life. So all of it show simply in this one piece of paper here, asking the right question, 5W and 1A, leaning the answer of those questions toward positive contemplation. And that is how we will reach transformation. And that is it for today, everyone, because I feel like we have covered many of the important points today, and I do have to go to work. So I will see you tomorrow. Actually, no, tomorrow we will take a day off to digest all of the information we have learned about the 4 principles, and then we will move to a very important part of our journey, and that is the 3 semantic reference system. All right, excellent. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and have a wonderful day.